Start letting folks in. Admit folks from the chat, from the waiting room. I'll spotlight myself as well as our featured guest for today. That's me. And here's Randy. And as we do up front, we'll just take a little bit of a minute to let people file in
Yeah,
to the
sounds good.
theater, as it were. This is Piano Tech Radio Hour. We're streaming out there on Facebook and YouTube, and soon enough we will also be adding some information in the chat on those channels. So that if you want to, you can join us on the Zoom call if you have anybody watching live. So keep an eye out for that. Keep an eye out for some other info about the program. We'll add some links to the chat so that you can keep abreast of what's going on. And momentarily, I will introduce our program so let you know what it is. This is Piano Tech Radio Hour. If you're looking for us, you're in the right place. And we're going to talk pianos today. All right, let's get rolling. I'll give an official welcome to Piano Tech Radio Hour, and what we do here is we gather every Saturday to meet with and learn from the most fascinating and knowledgeable folks in the piano world. This includes manufacturers, rebuilders, musicians, makers of other instruments, and of course, piano techs. Our mutual goal is to become better at our craft, to help each other, and to create an ever more musical world together. Piano Tech Radio Hour is brought to you by Piano Technicians Master Classes, an online learning resource that brings you cutting edge instruction from piano industry's masters without leaving your home. You can find out more at pianotechniciansmasterclass.com. You can subscribe to Piano Tech Radio Hour, which you're watching right now, for just 16 bucks a month. You get direct access to each week's private Zoom call, as well as the archival recordings of over 200 episodes in our member area. You can join by going to bit.ly/join PTRH. That's bit.ly/join PTRH. A couple other shout outs before we introduce our guest. Make sure you check out the podcast, pianotechradio.com. You want some audio only episodes. Maybe you're driving around between appointments, working in the shop. Perfect for that. Check out our blog, pianotechniciansmasterclass.substack.com. We release the insider content that's behind the member area in blog form. It's little snippets, but really valuable information. You check out the blog, you find a topic that you like or is giving you some value, and you can subscribe and find out more. Check out the individual lectures. Make sure you check out our social media channels. We got Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter. We're pretty active on all of those. Keep up with us. You can find our link tree, linktr.ee, Piano Tech Masterclass. You'll get all our social media channels. And yeah, we'll be posting a link in the chat on our social media channels. Again, if you do want to join the Zoom call, you should be able to register to do that if you get in soon enough. We'll make sure you have the right link. Let me make sure the one that we have in here on file is correct. I think, Justice, that link that we have, I think we need to adapt it slightly.
Oh, I'll get the right.
It might be 211. Yeah, it's the number at the end of the link is 211 instead of 210. But yeah, all right, sounds good. Let's introduce our featured guest for the day, and his name is Randy Cassotto. He's a master craftsman specializing in custom piano tuning hammers with a focus on innovation and quality. He's born and raised in Provo, Utah. He began his career at Craft Supplies during his piano service apprenticeship under RPT and head tech at BYU, Keith Kopp. Over the past 20 years, Randy has honed his skills in creating custom levers, taking his craft seriously in 2020 in the development of his first product, the Smartlever, featuring a quick change magnetic tip release. Randy recently formed Cassotto Levers LLC, separating it from his original company, 88 on Pitch. This new venture focuses on high-quality piano tuning hammers and bespoke gifts. He is currently developing a new website, actively engages in the community through Facebook and Instagram with plans to grow his newly launched YouTube channel. Throughout his career, Randy has focused on the evolution of levers, exploring various body styles, weights, finishes, and graphics. Commitment to quality and innovation has made his products highly sought after by piano technicians and enthusiasts alike. He continues to develop the company, and he remains dedicated to his craft, constantly pushing the boundaries of what is possible in the world of piano tuning hammer.
Let's not exaggerate now.
I have to say though, I mean, when I see your piano tuning hammers, it really feels like it's. I mean, if I were to say like a luxury piano tuning hammer, like that is, it's like a level above what I would consider possible,
Well, thank you. Yeah, somehow.
available. Yeah,
Well, thank you for inviting me here, Ethan,
yeah,
and Justice. Greetings. But yeah, it feels like it's one of those things where technicians say, I would love to buy one, but I'm afraid to drop it." So it's somehow it's become a little bit of a luxury item, but you know, everyone likes luxury from time to time.
yeah. I mean, there's something to be said for that. I kind of actually aspire to be the tech that has like a lot of like really, fancy looking tools. And what it ends up being is I'm kind of like half and half. Some of my tools are just like, you know, it's been there
Sure.
forever. It's like I picked it up at from some giveaway thing, in some box, some old thing that you probably couldn't even find, these days. And
I,
then I've got some other stuff that I treasure. Um, but what's been your approach? Have you always been kind of like a tool aficionado? Do you keep your own, besides your tuning hammers, very
I
well
mean, not
kept
really.
or
No, I
okay.
mean, I think what if I've always been a very handy person, so when it comes out to needing a tool or an item, I will usually do a good amount of reviews, studies on the reviews, and then I just buy either what's in my price range, or if I know that someone recommends something that is going to last a lot longer, you're going to spend a lot more money doing it, but I know I'm going to be using that item a lot longer, then sure, I'll probably splurge for it. But no, I would say just like you, my mix of tools it's a hodgepodge. It's all ages, conditions, as long as it is functional and is going to last. That's my biggest thing is I want any tool I'm going to buy to last. And do I go to, places like Harbor Freight or other stores that, you're getting a little bit of a lower quality product, but a lot of those lower quality products that are rated by people, they're not so low. So I'm
Hmm.
willing to try a lot of different things. And you may find something that is $100 versus $20, and I'll go with the $20 and be very happy. But every now and then things do break down. So, with my toolkit, it's all over the place.
Yeah. It's also, does it work? Because that's the where I've been bitten several
Right.
times. It's like get the tool and it's like so weirdly designed that it's actually non-functional. And I
Sure.
feel like if I don't know if they would admit to it, but they're like the supply houses, I think they have the kind of what I would call like the sucker level tools where they think, yeah, if you think it's supposed to be this cheap, you deserve this. We're going to ship it to you. Then you can
Right.
find out that it
Yeah.
doesn't work, and then you'll come back and buy
Sure.
the better option. But well, let's dive back a little bit into your history. Sounds like you had the privilege of studying with Keith Kopp as a really well-respected technician in the industry. What about your involvement with sort of music in general? What led you to uh, be working with pianos? What got you interested in the first place? How long has this passion been alive with you?
I mean, I started playing, I think, organ at my grandmother's, house when I was a kid, and I started taking lessons when I was about 12 years old on piano because I just really had a desire to listen to music and to love music. I remember as a kid, I'd watch Mickey Mouse, and Mickey Mouse back then had a lot of symphonic music, classical music, and I feel like a lot of kids were very drawn to the cartoon aspect of it. But for me, I was watching it, but I was really listening to music, so I knew at a young age I absolutely love music. I just didn't know where I was going to go because at that stage you have a lot of things going on. But I would think that in my musical career, I stuck with piano because in college I was going into my freshman year at Westfield State College in Massachusetts. I was actually going to be a music educator. I want to go into secondary education, and I
Yeah, you muted for some reason. Sorry about that. Can you unmute yourself? Let's see. How do we do that? I don't know why it's doing that.
how's that?
There you go. There you go.
All right,
Yeah, go ahead. You
sorry.
said we lost you at you wanted to be a music educator.
I just want to be a music educator, and by the time I graduated college, I had a very huge desire not to teach. So, but I used to very much admire. I would sit there and practice
Wait,
on
let's
the. I,
pause
I
there. Let's
played.
pause. Let's pause there. Let's pause there. What did they scare you away or something? Did you do your like hours of kind of
It
like
was
on the job
so,
training and you
so
said, "Oh no, no thanks."
going into music education, a lot of the first 2 years, I had a lot of single credit classes. I mean, a lot of them, and they were all music classes. And I remember by the time I graduated, not graduated, but by the time I finished my sophomore year, I had 79 credits going into my junior year. And at that point, I was like exhausted. I had 11 or 10 classes a semester, and I just felt like I was pushing myself so much. And I kind of got into jazz. Going from classical, very strict classical music. I played the saxophone. I had a Summer Mark 6 that I went my freshman year and bought a brand new instrument based on my teacher's, requirements. And I absolutely got so deep into alto sax that I loved it. I hated anything on the radio, any kind of music that I grew up listening to, Led Zeppelin, Guns N' Roses, whatever. I got very much into classical music. And by the time I became a junior, I was exhausted. I started learning jazz. I started playing the baritone sax and jazz, and I became like a jazz cat where I was very laid back. And I think my musical interest changed, and the desire to be a teacher really also changed as well. And by the time I graduated, I knew that I was on the wrong path, but I knew I wanted something with music. But the thing is, I remember is that when I would be practicing saxophone in they had a large Jorgensen room, like a recital room. I would always go in and rehearse the saxophone, but the piano technician would come in a couple times a year, and he had a full suit, like a bodysuit on. I'm not sure why, but I thought that was just how technicians dressed. I would go in and I'd watch him too, and I was so fascinated with what he did. I don't know why, but I loved it. And I never really talked to him, but I figured that's kind of a cool profession, but I'll never get into it. But by the time I graduated, I said, I want to do something with music. And I've always been crafty. I've always been handy. So that's when I took piano technology very seriously. I heard about the Randy Potter piano technology course, and a lot of great reviews about it. And after just finishing college, I said I don't really want to go to a school like North Bennett, which is an excellent school, but I didn't want to go back to living to a city and being back in another school. So I took the correspondence course from Randy, and it was a lot of material. I grasped a lot of information from it, but I also moved back out to Utah to join up with Keith Kopp. And Keith Kopp, I guess, I want to say that he and Randy lived in the same town, and Randy and Keith worked together early on. And the experience I gained with Keith, even though Keith was the head technician at BYU, my experience with Keith was basically I was his first apprentice. So we would go from home to home, and I almost learned as much about customer service and how to treat your client correctly and respectfully. I hate to say more than, but part of it was more than the actual experience of servicing pianos, because a lot of times, you go into a client's house and you probably do 90% tuning and, talking, communicating with the client. And then maybe there's a few adjustments, or you discuss what you want to do with the piano thereafter, or what you can do in the future. But a lot of times clients don't always want to spend the money, especially if they feel like they have a secondhand piano that is not going to be worth their investment down the road. So, with Keith, I learned how to smile, and I learned how to just treat people as one-on-one family members in a way. So that was my experience with Keith. I spent 2 years with him, and it's kind of how I started in the piano technology field.
Just curious, what was that like? Were you able to just tag along? Was there some sort of exchange, or was this kind of like a generous,
It,
gesture on his part, or how did that work?
I think it was a trial on both of our parts, because he's never taken on an apprentice, but knew he could probably push himself a little bit more in his own business by offering more services. So, if I was there and he was tuning, during the times of tuning, I would get under him and, make a, let off adjustment or something where I can access below what he was doing.
Mm.
But it was one of those things where it wasn't a paid internship, so to speak. It was just kind of like, let's see what Randy's experience can be, how we can pursue that, and what could I do to continue my process of building his business he was in Orem at the time, Orem, Utah. It was just kind of like a friendship that we developed, and, it helped me out substantially. I miss Keith. I haven't seen him in quite a long time, but it was just a
Hmm.
very great experience.
Well, it's wonderful. Yeah, that's great. It's hard to come by.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so that's great. So it's just kind of like a musical, you had that kind of desire to have a musical life, and this came to be, oh hey, here's a way I can make money. It's not this classroom stuff, which I found out is probably not for me.
Yeah.
I remember, by the way, my after I never really wanted to teach in schools. I mean, I think I could have, and I probably could have enjoyed it. I ended up teaching at the university level in a totally different subject area, and I actually enjoyed teaching at the
What
university
subject is
level.
that?
Um, I actually taught statistics to undergrads,
Really?
undergraduate biology majors. It
Wow.
was fun. I did a biology lab too for a few semesters as well. But 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 what I thought of when I thought of teaching like the high school level, I did some a little bit of substitute teaching when I graduated college because it's an easy gig you could get and they needed people. They'd
Right.
call you at 4 in the morning. Hey, we got somebody calling sick. Come on over, do this. And I remember the worst experience I ever had was I think it was like a preschool or a kindergarten class. And luckily they had a co-teacher because I wouldn't even have known what to do. Like as a high school kid, a high school guy, like coming in, like I wouldn't have known how to teach a whole class of whatever, preschoolers, kindergarten. So this woman was there. So I just kind of had to be there and help out. I was sick by half the way the day was through. I literally had gotten sick because all the germs and the kids and they're all
Oh,
running around and
sure.
I have no idea how people corral kids for anything. And then I had a high school thing where I literally had a kick me sign put on me. I literally had that
No
by
way.
the kids in the
I was
class.
just watching Back to the Future the other day, so how appropriate.
Um, all right, so you got into tuning and do you primarily have done field work, tuning pianos? Have you done some other work, regulation, voicing, even
Sure.
restoration? How has that evolved over the years?
I would say it's evolved. I've been doing rebuilding, but most of my job, I would say, is a service technician where, regulations, voicing, I have done some rebuilds, but it's not a big part of my job because I feel like you have to decide, and I hate to put it this way, but money comes down to devoting time to what is lucrative and using your time wisely. And I feel like if you are a rebuilder, it's a big passion that I would love to do, but with all the clients I have, I can't drop 2,300 clients and just say I'm going to focus on rebuilding only. It's just I need a team, and I am
Hmm.
very particular on what I make, what I do. So I set out a long time ago to say I'm going to be a service tech that is providing basically all avenues that the owner would want. If you want a rebuilding done, there's a technician that I will never be able to compete with. Sean's Pianos in West Hartford does an excellent job, restoring. And at the time, Acousticraft was there down in Bloomfield, which is only 20 minutes from my home now. And Chris Robinson is an excellent technician rebuilder, and he had an excellent team. So I knew that truthfully, I can't compete with what they're doing. So, but as far as my job now is, I do service all clients within maybe 30 minutes, and I love to travel home to home, but my tool business has taken off so much that I'm at that weird balance point of how do I even maintain the clients I have to being in the shop. And it's a tough challenge, hard to
Hmm.
balance.
Yeah, I mean that sounds fun. I mean, it's a good sign that what you've been doing is catching on, and I think now's probably an appropriate time. Let's take a look at some of these. So I guess there's maybe two websites we should take a look at, or is there just one at this point?
Yeah, well, so as I went as an LLC 2 weeks ago, I do have my main website that will be it's live now, but will be complete by hopefully next week. Is Cassotto Levers. That's how everyone's known me, but it's CassottoLevers.com.
Okay.
In
Yeah,
Yeah,
go
since
ahead.
COVID, which is how this whole thing started during COVID, I started making carbon fiber levers. I've been using my business name, which is 88 on pitch.
Hmm.
So if someone wanted to buy a tuning lever, it's still live. They can do it now, but you can go to 88onpitch.com/levers and you'll
Okay.
see everything I offer as far as tips, like prestige tips and whatever else.
Hmm.
So that will still continue to be live, but I'm going to push everybody there to say Cassotto Levers is the primary go-to website.
Okay. Let me just
But
bring those up, and then we'll take a look, and maybe you can give us a little tour of some of the stuff. So, okay, so here's your website, and this is just kind of
this is my 88 on pitch website. This is where people have gone, even though I modify the website all the time and I make the
mhm.
changes. I feel like I'm obsessed with making it look good. If they go to the levers page, It's
Yeah,
still live.
that's
This
here.
still will work for orders, but I'm going to diminish or reduce everything on this site and just have a separate link to say, please start using CassottoLevers.com. But you can get a
Hmm.
gist of everything I offer on this current website. And yeah,
Okay.
it's worked.
So yeah, so just that, so that was 80 add-on bits. That's your personal website. I mean, your business tuning website, basically, where most of
Sure.
your
Yeah.
clients call for work. And then this was like a subdomain. And then this is you said this is your new site, which is like
Which is
maybe
actively,
not. Yeah, go
yeah,
ahead.
it's, no, I'm sorry. It's being worked on. Like I just
Hmm.
started the website up last week, to be honest. And if you go into like where it says levers on the top, you can see create your own current inventory. It's
Hmm.
still not done, but the create your own is where I would say 95% of the technicians that use me,
Hmm.
they go into creating their own because they get to, utilize what I
Hmm.
want to do or what they want to do. So
Mm.
that current inventory is not up to date.
Right,
That the
right,
whole
right.
website has to be. I'm working on it, but it just takes time. But
Is the create your own on this one too as well, or
no,
no?
it is. But you
Yeah.
can see what I still offer on the CassottoLevers.com. That has most everything on there for creating
Okay.
your own, with the exception of finish type. Like I offer a couple of different types of finish. Like you can do a high gloss finish, which is custom. I mean, is the traditional way of doing it, or I offer like a satin finish. And there's also a natural finish, which I don't always recommend, but it does give you that more feel of natural wood more than epoxy and the
Hmm.
which I'm using. But yeah, what you're looking at right now is my current, soon to be full time website that technicians can order from directly.
Very cool.
Yeah, thanks.
We get the Mario Egret endorsement. That's cool. Head angle tips and inserts. So maybe let me try this process here real quick. So just to see if I can understand it. So we pick the kind of angled head that we want. So you
Sure.
literally just get, is this something where, is this where we're just kind of learning about it? Is it, I feel like I went to a site at one point and maybe it was older, maybe it's still here, maybe it's different, where you actually had like a little checklist where you could check the different options.
That's at the
Is that,
bottom of this page. So if they
okay,
this is giving them a synopsis of everything that I offer, but if you go to the very
okay.
bottom of the page,
Oh yeah, there you go.
yeah, they can order as they feel necessary, or they can just contact me directly, and I'll still send them that link to this page, saying, "Hey, go to the bottom of the page. You can see the checklist, and
Hmm.
decide to choose whatever you like." And once they send me the information, I just come back and give them my input on it and say, if you want to move forward, give me the green light. And once the green light happens, the payment request happens, everything else. But I feel like it's best for me to at least see an idea as to what you're offering on the same page, as well as here's the order form. But that's
Right,
not for everybody. Sometimes people just want to see the order form only. So,
right.
to each his own.
Yeah, I see. Well, that's cool though, because I mean, it gives you a lot of options, and even if you're just kind of like trying to figure out what you want, you get to see all the different things that are available, different types of
Sure.
finishes, the
And it can be
logo.
overwhelming, and I understand that. It's probably easy to say, here's my three types of levers, here's the three sizes I make. But the reality is, I would say the vast majority of the technicians that order from me
Hmm.
have very specific desires and lengths and ball diameter or no ball. There's a lot of different technicians. It seems like a new thing where they want to try a lot. And when I say want to try a lot, I have multiple technicians who have bought two, three. I've had one technician buy four levers from me. It's not necessary, but I feel like it's one of those, like you said, luxury items that once you kind of get into it, if you like that feel and technology, you just
Yeah.
kind of want to keep seeing what else can I do? What else does he have? So this is where I kind of shine as far as finishes go, and all different body styles. But I do at the very top, and just in my business in general, I haven't had them here laid out, but I focus on six main body styles, which is still a lot, and you only really need one. But
Hmm.
there's something for everyone, and that's what I want to offer. But I learned, years ago when I was working with Keith, that he bought a tuning lever. I want to say is it Mike Callahan? He was in Salt Lake City. I'm just going to pop this one up here so you can take a look at it, or you can see it
Oh,
right there.
just a second. Let me unshare the screen so we can check that out.
It's a classic lever. So his design was very similar to this, and having the ball, to
Hmm.
me, when I started using Keith's lever,
Uh-huh.
was paramount in just control. So I saw what Mike was making, And I started when I worked at the wood turning company in Utah in '03. I said, I want to start making my own tools. So I got my first lathe, which is in another room, but I got my first lathe and I figured out how can I make this so it fits my hand and is fitting what I'm trying to, pursue in technology. And it was very much based on his design, just smaller. And
Mm.
it's evolved from there. So ever since I started tuning pianos, I bought one tuning lever from Shaft. It was the extension lever that was extremely heavy. And truthfully, I beat the heck out of it. I would take that lever and use that as a hammer sometimes, just because I'm like, well, whatever. I can make my own handle. I might as well try. But
Mm-hmm.
the when COVID hit, and I didn't know where I was going to go with my piano service industry. I said, well, I need to do something different. I used to be the concert technician for Infinity Hall for 7 years. They had lots of artists coming in and out, and when COVID happened, that place just like shut down. My business basically shut down. So that's when I took it seriously, because I've had people tell me in the past they've seen my levers and say, you should probably think about making these for a living. And I said, I don't want to do that. But when things change, like when the world shut down, you do start thinking, how can I push myself in a different direction? And that gave me the perfect opportunity to start pursuing something that I've really wanted to do, which is not drive as much, not always be on the road, but actually work in the shop on
Mm-hmm.
something that is unique and different, which is where
Mm-hmm.
I am today. So,
Yeah, that's fascinating. You know what's really fascinating? I mean, it's happened before, and like today, I'm especially noticing there's several people that we've had on the program where they talk about how the
so
pandemic like shifted their direction, into something,
yeah,
starting a YouTube channel or, and it's really amazing. It's what's really interesting is that the things that they've done because of the pandemic are the things that make them interesting, like to get them that we want to have him on. Like there's this guy I didn't even realize he was a piano tuner. Um, he's doing like Instagram posts and stuff like that. And so he just makes little like musical puns basically, or like he'll say be like, okay, what would it sound like if you played like for Elise as lounge piano or something? And and it's like, oh, that's funny, that's cool. And so he just started doing that during the pandemic just because like what else is he going to do? And he was a piano tuner, but he really liked making musical jokes. And he even before that, like he would be like, he would play songs like backwards or something. He'd be like, oh, that's funny. And yeah, now he's like I feel like he's got like 1 million followers on like the different channels. He's
wow.
just doing these like musical things online. But it's a similar story. Pandemic, just wanted to do something, occupy his time, started doing it, and it took off. So that's cool.
Same with you, right? That's how you've taken off so
At
much.
least with this program specifically. And what's interesting about what I was doing is I started the master classes before the pandemic. In 2017, I started doing the online master classes. And at the time, you know, there was a handful of people that got it. They're like, oh yeah, this is great, this is cool. Why not? Especially people that live in different countries, or just don't have access to information as easily. That made total sense to them. Then there were all these people who were like, oh, that doesn't make any sense. I'll just do something in person. Why would I do it online? But that was booked back in 2017, and then of course the pandemic rolls around, and everybody's like, oh yeah, this makes a lot of sense right now. So that was helpful for furthering what I had already been pursuing. And then this particular program we had we had a couple online sort of conventions or get-togethers during the pandemic when everybody was kind of out of work and didn't know what to do. We had 500 people on a Zoom call back
Wow.
in yeah, back in early pandemic. It was pretty insane. Of
That's
course,
great.
like they were all like wondering if they were going to be alive the next week, but yeah, they were all there.
Yeah, not a good time, but
Yeah,
what
but
do
we
you say?
we made it through it. We're well beyond it now, thank goodness. But
Yeah,
but what is interesting is that it did spark a lot of creativity and new
yeah,
endeavors and interesting things.
right. 100%.
Um, so I have a couple of questions. I'm gonna actually go back to the screen share a little bit, and I may be asking you for insider secrets or something, so you don't have to answer any of these things. But um, I'm curious. I actually have always wondered that. I feel like I kind of know, but maybe not. So the carbon fiber, right? It's literally like a sheet that you wrap around like a core tubular base, right? That's
Right.
what carbon fiber means? Is that true?
Basically, interwoven carbon that's mixed with epoxy.
Uh-huh.
and it's rolled, or there's different methods that's used, but obviously in our application for tuning levers, it's rolled into a core.
Uh-huh.
And, the diameter can vary. I use a low profile diameter. It's like a 3/4 inch OD. And then the walls are only about 1/8 of an inch thick, which is why
Right.
you can also get so much less weight and just as much power, if not more. It's been said that, steel versus carbon fiber is twice as strong, or I should say, carbon fiber is twice as strong as steel.
Twice as strong as steel.
Hold on. Now I'm getting this wrong. 5 times stronger than steel at 1/2 the weight. But if you reduce the mass, it can be
Okay.
extremely lightweight. So rigidity
Okay.
on carbon fiber, and that's what technicians want, is you want
Hmm.
a tool that is going to give you direct movement and direct feel. Is it possible to get that out of tuning levers I've ever come across? No, it's there is going to be some kind of flex at some point. Carbon fiber does not flex until it hits the point of breaking. And I think
Hmm.
the carbon fiber that I use is a 3K twill weave. It's like 0.00006. I don't know what you call it, but millions of an inch movement.
Okay. Hmm.
And that's where the flexing point would be, but it would break just at that point. And these are rated at 130 million pounds per square inch. So it's extremely hard to break these. They can be brittle.
Do you have some there with you?
I
Sorry.
do, yes. I've got a whole array of what I actually offer for body styles.
Can I see what it looks like?
So like this one right here is it's a compact classic lever, which looks a lot like the classic that I have, but the body style is going to be more, it's going to be reduced in size, which allows technicians who do not want a larger ball. This is my own lever right here. It's got a 2 5/8 ball, which I like, but a lot of technicians ask for like a 2 1/4 inch or smaller. But the weight of this, combined with the stiffness, just makes everything tuning much more of a breeze. If I'm lifting a tuning pin on a vertical piano, if I go from one direction to another, or I should say from one pin to another, you're just flicking your wrist. So it's like a very quick movement. It doesn't take a lot of energy loss.
Yeah.
It doesn't, tire you out too much. So I feel like they're faster, they're easier to work with. Do you need carbon fiber and do you need, these kind of tuning levers? Like, no, tried and true. The old steel levers work just as well. I feel like it's not a necessity until you try it. And once you try it, if you enjoy that feel, it becomes a necessity.
Yeah. And also what I was asking, maybe you do or don't have, do you have the actual sheets of carbon fiber in like sheet form or no?
I do not have any here.
Oh, okay. All right. But that's how it comes, right? It's like a sheet and then you wrap it around the core.
Yeah.
What's
You can
the
cut
core?
the sheet. I'm sorry?
What material is the core? Is it like aluminum or something? Or what do you use underneath the carbon fiber?
We use strictly carbon fiber. I say we. I'm the one making the actual lever. I have Connecticut companies doing the metals for me, but the actual
They do the metal. Okay.
Carbon fiber core is strictly carbon fiber. You can't. These all have a it has the threaded.
Okay.
You can't see it. I can pull actually here.
So there's no substrate that the carbon fiber has to go on top of. That's kind of what I was
Not
trying to
ours.
understand.
No, ours. I reduce the mass. I reduce the weight. So it's literally just you can't really see through it, but it's literally just carbon fiber.
Got it. Wow, I didn't realize you could even do that. That's interesting. And then the wood also. What about the wood? Is the wood hollow on the inside, or is it?
I bore out. I call it a near full tang. So it's not. If you had a full tang, you would have the carbon fiber sticking all the way out to the end. You would see a circle at the end of it. So I do a near tang, which is basically as close to the end that I can get it before hitting that point of reaching the end of the wood. But the inside is bored out, but it's still solid wood. It's not like this is a laminate or any kind of veneer. Yeah. And people sometimes say, "Was that a plastic lever that you kind of engineers can kind of look over it?" And it's like, no, I'm using these are all. I can't turn you around here, but I can try.
Yeah.
These are just various pieces of wood that I've collected over the years, and I still continue to buy, but it's all solid wood.
Yeah. It's very light, though. That's cool.
Well, it depends on the wood that you choose. And this is why I put this on my website. Like certain woods, like Wenge is a very dark wood, almost like ebony. It's very dense and very heavy. And some technicians still like that heavy feel. But I go for very lightweight woods. Like this is segmented cedar that I made for my late grandparents' cedar chest that my father was going to throw away. And I said, I'll take that chest. I want it. So when I
Mm.
got it, I opened it up, and it smelled just like their house, which I had Italian grandparents, so it smelled like it smelled like pasta and coffee. And I was killing myself to open it and try to rip it apart. And I'm like, do I want to do this, or do I preserve that smell in there as long as I can? But I ended up ripping it apart. But the wood itself, like cedar, is super lightweight. It's also not the most dense wood. It's pretty light. But the way I segment this wood, you're getting a lot of the end grain, which gives you about twice the amount of resistance. So the impact force of this is a lot tougher than using like a face grain segment or face grain cedar. But the weight of this, I mean, this only weighs like 6 ounces. So it's super light.
Yeah.
That's my goal, is to make lightweight levers. But everyone has their own preference.
All right, I have more questions. How do you do the lettering there? Is that
Which
metallic?
one?
Is it painted? Like, when you put the logos on and stuff like that. So there's just some sort of a
Uh,
decal, and then you lacquer over it, or is that a
it's
secret? Or
so couple secrets.
you don't have to tell any secrets. I'm just
Some
curious.
of
I
the
have
stuff,
questions.
some of
You
what
could
I
say,
do.
"Oh, if I told you, I'd have to kill you." That's fine. You could do that.
Yeah, this is. Yeah, I'll be Tom Cruise for a second here. I'll plead the fifth. I mean, some of it is engraved, but the rest is. It's what I do.
Okay. Okay. Got it. That's
But
cool.
I'm doing everything in shop. It's not sent out. It's all like
Okay.
clients or technicians will say, "I want this look. Can you do it for me?
Hmm.
I've got this logo. Can you try it?" And I'll be honest. I'll say some of these are maybe a little bit too intricate, because you're asking me to put something on a curve, and putting any kind of logo on a curve is
Oh yeah.
a challenge of itself.
Yeah.
But I enjoy trying new things, and
Hmm.
you know,
I
but
also
yeah,
like.
but the finish, I've been calling it the RC Flex finish. It's basically comprised of primarily two-part epoxy, which is common from other, guys who are making these levers as well. But I use a special cyanoacrylate, and there's a specific ratio that I use. And the reason why I started using this, and I'm not going to say that this is going to be effective on everybody, but these things are beautiful to look at, right? It's not just your run-of-the-mill, cheap-looking lever. Like, they are
Hmm.
nice, they feel great, they're nice and smooth. They give you that feeling of confidence. A lot of piano owners will look at it and say, "Wow, I don't know anything about what you're doing, but whatever you're holding looks beautiful." But the
Yeah.
finish, the reason why I chose this finish in that particular, fabrication, what I'm using, is technically certain things can be pushed out fairly easily with a little bit of heat. By the way, I engineered the finish. Not always, depends on how deep this stuff is. If someone takes
Okay.
a metal tool and smashes into it, it'll take the
Uh-huh.
impact, but obviously finish is finish. But the way I use the RC Flex finish, if you heat it correctly, it could actually bounce back, almost like a hardwood floor that gets a gouge. And if you put a little steam on there, sometimes the fiber can increase in size, and it can just smooth itself back out. So,
Hmm.
but it is kind of like a proprietary amount of finish I am using,
Okay.
but it's a
That's fine.
very thick coat to build up.
Yeah. No, that's fine.
I do
Um,
have, and I mentioned this before. Like, I also offer that natural finishes, which I've done to a couple, or for a couple technicians, and I don't absolutely love it, because I feel like the part of what I'm doing is protecting the wood itself, the body. I want it to last for years. And if
mhm.
you don't put thick finish on it, it's going to be pretty marred up, and it's easier to
Right.
refinish the lever if the actual top coat is defective. I can refinish that lever. But if you have the wood substrate damaged, it's
Uh-huh.
harder to give you that same size lever that you initially bought from.
Right.
So that's kind of
So
why
you say natural finish, you mean like a rubbed finish where it's not like stained and lacquered or something. And yeah.
yeah, exactly. It's more of like polyurethane. Like, you can use a couple coats as many as you want, but
Hmm.
you can use like a hand rub finish. You mentioned Margaret Igrek. He is on our website, and he asked for a specific finish that would almost easily rub off, because he likes the feel of real wood, as do, I'm sure, a lot of technicians. And I made it to his spec, and he's very satisfied with it. So I'm not sure what that lever is going to be in the next 10 years, but we'll find out. And that's part of the challenge of this business, is not knowing long term what's going to happen. I never learned from anybody. This is something I figured out. And as we talked about with COVID, I pushed myself to read and to research, hours on end. And I spoke with multiple machinists and engineers. And it's gotten me to the point where I have a very good understanding as to what could potentially happen for fracture, for like failure. But I am trying to make these so that this will be a tool that will last you your lifetime or longer, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it does come with hiccups and roadblocks, but as long as you overcome them and you push on, that's the main goal of me. And then again, I mean, not to cut you off or anything, but the reason why I started this business is I'm kind of tired, and this goes back to what we initially talked about, having cheap tools versus tools that last. There are so many times I did buy the cheap tool to get me through one task, but you use it for a second task, and it may have already failed. So my goal was to use all US metals, and there are two companies that are within about 25 minutes of where I live. One of the guys I've known for years, he owns a very large company that is machining for the military and for medical field, and he has helped me do a lot of the engineering and the metal work for everything I make with the tips that we have and for the aerospace heads that we use. And I wanted everything made in the United States. And truthfully, I've actually had a couple inserts. Like these are case hardened steel inserts that are super tough. But if you overheat treat them, they can fracture. They could become brittle. And even with engineers giving me some reference points as to how you can actually make this a perfect tool, things do fail. There is fatigue that comes in place. But again, if you overheat something, then it becomes very strong, but can become very brittle. So we have learned from our mistakes and we just move on. But inside of what?
Can you still hear me? It says my internet's unstable. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. You're a little chopped up, but I can see you.
Okay, I think it stopped. I also like the transitional element, the way you're transitioning from the carbon fiber to the wood, like the kind of like smooth transition as well. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, thank you. It's can see that. Yeah.
Does the carbon fiber flare out, or is it more? Okay, so yeah, the carbon fiber itself actually has some flare to it. Kind of. No. Okay.
No, that's the finish.
That's the finish. Okay. What was I gonna? Oh, I want to talk about your concept of expansion here as well. So let me share again. So if we go to this home, actually, before we do that, let me stop the share. You and I did not talk about this beforehand, so you could answer however you like. Do you have any do you want to do any special hey, if you're watching this, we'll throw in whatever. I don't know. I don't know if you have the capacity to do that, but
I don't want to be corny about it, but I've had, I made this ring. I made other rings for various friends of mine and just people who I don't even know, but they're asking me, well, I've known you, I've been following you for such a long time on Facebook and Instagram, and can you make this? Because I know some guys that make tools with a wood turning lathe that they can make other things. And I said, well, what do you want? So lately, because I've turned my Cassotto Levers into an LLC, I've had a lot of random orders of pizza cutters and rings and shaving kits and whatever. So truthfully, I'm actually not pushing off, but I'm branching off into a different direction that has nothing to do with piano technology or anything with pianos or tuning levers. But Cassotto Levers will also be accommodating other people that have nothing to do with piano. So I want to make this more of my business, which is why if you look, you just brought that to the first page. If you go down to the bottom of that page, you will see here are rings and wherever else. Is it going to be a primary gig for me? No, my heart is in piano services and for making tools, making technician levers and whatever else they would want. But it's one of those fun little parts of what I could do in the future. You never know what will take you to a different level or different area. So those aren't, again, this is not even done yet, but you can see.
This isn't done yet, but that's really cool. Pens, that's fun.
Yeah. Again, this is what happened during COVID. When COVID shutdown happened, I said, I got to make some money. And I started making pens and I started making shaving kits. And I was actually surprised at how many people actually bought them from me. And it's more of it's not so much the money. It's I enjoy doing this kind of thing. That's why I make what I make. It's fun to create. I would love to build a piano from the ground up, but I will never be able to do it. I don't have a foundry. I have the proper equipment, but the concept of making something that someone can actually use for me is my passion. That's why I do what I do.
is this open up? So you mentioned one way in which this has opened up other things. People are asking for other things. Has it opened up more anything else, like, I don't know, relationships with their, other technicians across the country or the world? Are you getting orders from other countries, or is that mostly the United States? Like, what's it been like since you started, and kind of what it's led to, and the people that are getting involved?
I mean, as far as tuning levers go, I have a supplier in Denmark who basically puts orders through to me, and he sells my tips and my levers for me.
Hmm.
Rune Danielson, and he 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 hasn't asked for anything else. But I have other suppliers, like one in China, who does the same exact thing, buys levers from me. But as far as meeting other people based on this, it's not. I can't say it's not too much yet because I haven't really pushed it. I've been so focused
Okay.
on doing what I'm doing now that I pushed it off as an LLC, it will become more of a future project. But I feel people like technicians have said, "Hey, I saw your levers and I saw that you made a ring. Can you show me what else you have?" And I've been telling them, like, "Look, I don't have a lot of photos yet because I'm
Hmm.
still building the website and I'm still
Hmm.
making levers. So I'm trying to devote time to that as well. But there will be a point, hopefully this year, that I can really push everything out on the website and you can get a gist as to what I will offer. And that will bring in other people that aren't necessarily technicians. There'll be anybody in the United States can see, or even out of the country. But I want to try to stay in the States for now and start
Hmm.
small. But I will
Hmm.
offer it to whoever wants, some kind of good.
Yeah. How did those relationships evolve? There's people called you and they're like, "Hey, I like these things. Can you send me some and I'll distribute them?"
The
Oh, sorry, did
relationships,
my connection go a little?
yeah, you're a little bit.
Yes.
It's hard.
So I was asking, how did those distributor relationships come about? Did they just contact you and say, "Hey, I've got an idea"?
I want to say both of them have. Yes,
Yeah.
it's been a while, but yes, I think Ruin actually. I was like, I can't really remember that one. I know the my Chinese importer has asked directly, but I'm not. I hate to say this, I'm not 100% certain if I actually approached Rune or if he actually came to me, but
Hmm,
um,
okay.
I don't remember. All day just setting in.
So, I guess we talked a little bit about the plans for the business for the future. Um, how much time are you spending then on each thing at this moment? Is it like half and half? Is this something you do on the weekends, or
You know,
and yeah, I've got a follow up too, but yeah,
so I usually,
how
I
much
mean,
time are you spending?
when I was servicing pianos, which I still am, but when I was in that full time only, I was working 7 days a week, especially as a concert technician. You have to be available on the weekends. And when I retired from that position, I just worked Monday through Friday. So now with the levers as of during COVID taking off, I have to at least take 1 to 2 full days off a week to make levers. But the process of making lever isn't like I can make this guy in 1 hour. It's a process. Like the finish is what
Hmm.
takes a lot of the time, and it's very, very finicky.
Mm,
Uh, so I can make a lever and say, with under 2 hours. And once the lever is made, the finishing process can take 2 or 3 or sometimes 4 days. But it's not, 24 hours a day. But you have to keep
hmm.
going back and checking on your progress at certain points.
Hmm.
So it's one of those things where if I had not been a technician and only made these tools, I'd be working 5 days a week in the shop and just rotate what I already started and then work on the same lever 2, 3, 4 days in. But
Hmm.
now if I go home after a day of working on pianos and I come home, it's 5 o'clock. I have a family. I have a 13-year-old son and 11-year-old daughter. I'll have dinner, talk with them, play with them. And if I have time at night and I have a lever that's waiting for a finish, I'll go up there where I am right now and work on the finishing process. So it
Hmm.
almost can be a daily task of working on anything to
Right.
do with tuning levers or communicating with the machinists. There's a lot of moving parts that takes a ton of my time.
Hmm.
But and I used to have hobbies, and I feel like my hobby has become my family, and it's become making things. So for me, it's like luckily my things that are hobbies are it's creation. So it is almost like an everyday thing.
Hmm. Mm. That's interesting. And then would would you Would you consider making like, I'm envisioning like you could have a nice little toolkit where you kind of made matching handles for a bunch of different tools. Does anybody ask you for that? I feel like that would be the pinnacle of like I'm a luxury piano tech. Like I've all Randy made my custom set here. You know, each little tool has its own little matching handle or something.
So I mean, like these guys down right here, if you can see this,
Mm-hmm.
right? I mean, I do offer sets, but that's not even
Mm-hmm.
posted on my website yet. But those are all the body styles that I make. There's 6 body
Yeah.
styles, all the
Mm-hmm.
same finish with the exception of the my own lever that I use. But
Mm-hmm.
I have had technicians say, "How many levers can you make me?" And this is the look that I'm going for. So yes, it can be done, but it's not a high request because truthfully, these aren't cheap levers. They're not cheap tools.
Right,
And
right.
there's a
Yeah.
reason for it. So, but it could be a collection over X amount of years. I have, like I said, I've had technicians buy up to 4 levers from me, but it's not always they're asking for the same exact design. Sometimes I see, like I've been wanting to buy one of your levers. This could be a new technician say, I want to buy one of your levers, but every time you post something on Instagram, like I like that one better. Then you post one a week later, I'm like, I like that one better. And it's taking them a long time to decide because everything I put out there, not all of them, but a lot of them, it ends up piquing their interest to something else. So,
Mm.
and that's my fault is that I don't have only 3 kind of styles of wood. I like to offer what people think they want to see made because it's kind of like you only live once. You might as well
Mm-hmm.
see what you can do and what people might enjoy.
Mm. So, and how much of what you're doing is you just made something because you thought it might be desirable versus just making things that people request?
There
Do you,
are a
how,
lot of
yeah.
there are a lot of levers that I've made for myself out of various pieces of wood, and I spent a lot of time and a lot of money doing so. And I look at it and say, yeah, I don't like it, so I'll completely destroy the lever. And it's happened far more than I probably would like to admit. But maybe I should just finish it and put it out there for like half price or something. But that's not me. I want it to look presentable, and I want what I'm putting out there to be something that I would actually buy myself or use myself. And there's
Mm-hmm.
been a few levers that have been questionable that I've always wondered where the idea came from the technician. But when it comes down to it, once it's a finished product, I'm like, you know what? Actually, it's kind of grown into me, and I really like that. And I've actually used those ideas towards the next level.
Mm.
So you never know where you're gonna go.
How much stock are you keeping in levers that are ready to be gotten? Is it like
Not a
10? Is
lot.
it like 100? Is that
No,
it right there?
that is it. And I have probably a handful in the other finishing room.
Okay.
But the reality is, I still get technicians saying, I love what you do. And the reason why I'm choosing you is because of the way you can customize the levers between the coloring, the shape, the decal, the logos. There's a lot that I'm offering that I feel like I'm the only one really doing that. And that's fine, but that's what they want. And some technicians are just saying, I want to try it because I've heard great things. But no, I don't ever plan on having a large inventory. It's just not what I want to do. I'd rather talk with a technician one on one and say, tell me what you want, and maybe I can try this, or did you ever think of this possibility? And for me, it's more fun. It takes a lot of time sometimes, but I like to go back and forth to see exactly what they're looking for. So hopefully I can match the criteria that they're after.
Mm-hmm. All right, very cool. Well, we're reaching the end of the hour. It's been fascinating to kind of dive a little bit deeper on what you've been up to and the evolution of it. And I can definitely see it going somewhere else. Yeah, I'm very definitely curious. Sorry, I could see my internet's not great.
That's okay.
Um, seems to be happening. Okay, I think the internet's okay now. Um, it seems to be, yeah, it seems to be some interesting things are down the line. I'd love to check back in a couple of years and, here, it's the level of quality clearly is, I think, allows for leading to other things because you put something out there that inspires people, and then I forget what it was. Oh, I listened to a podcast interview with Richard Branson, a virgin. And he started with just a newsletter. He basically dropped out of high school. He started a newsletter. You can hear me, right? Is
Yeah,
my
I can hear
internet okay?
you. It's not bad.
Is my internet okay? Is my internet
You're a
terrible?
little chopped up. The video went out. Your video went out, but that's about
Richard
it.
Branson, okay, the video went out for a second. He started with a newsletter. He dropped out of high school, basically. He started with his newsletter. Then they ended up turning into a mail order record company, became Virgin Records, and he started airplane company. Now he's got a spaceship company. But basically, he said they their brand is such a respected brand, they could launch something new and people be interested in it because of what they've already established their brand. If that makes any sense. Same direction, building a what's coming next from you. I'm going to ask just a signal, okay?
You're cutting out quite a
Can you guys?
bit.
I'm cutting out quite a bit. Okay. Um, all right.
I just always have a confused look on my face.
Well, I was just a no, I was just
Yeah.
about to wrap up anyways. Can you hear me enough to wrap up?
Yes.
Wow, it seems like I'm cutting out a ton because I can tell you guys are like baffled. Um, all right, I will okay guys, I'm so sorry. Kind of like a nice cleaner moment for so I'll do the sign off now. I will say we have reached well, actually before I do that, just remind people, Randy, where to go to find out more about you and what you're up to.
Sure. Yeah, they can still
The
go to Cassotto Levers.
website and the socials that are
Yeah, they can go on my Facebook and my Instagram.
CassottoLevers.com. Perfect.
Yeah, Facebook and Instagram. I have, I just started Cassotto Levers LLC, so it's going to be everything is like new, getting new people in. But CassottoLevers.com is probably the best place to go because it'll still be updated. And I hope by next week, next Saturday, it'll be completely done, and they can see everything they need to. But if they want to, they can still go to 80ampitch.com /levers, and they can see everything I've got to offer as far as custom levers. But the new website is what I want people to start using in the future. And unfortunately, I didn't have enough time to finish it because I didn't make the decision till last week, but here we are. So CassottoLevers.com.
Perfect. Justice, are you interested in reading the outro by any chance?
Sure.
Okay. Do you
Sure.
want me to put you on camera or just do you want to be the voice of God?
Let me just make sure I'm reading the right thing.
Yeah. Go towards the bottom of the page where it says closing and outro,
Oh, okay.
where it says okay. Go ahead and read
Okay.
that so we know that it comes through.
Okay. Well, we've reached the end of another musical journey here at Piano Tech Radio Hour. Thanks to Randy for joining us today. As always, we're brought to you by Piano Technicians Masterclasses, cutting-edge instruction from piano industry masters without leaving your home. For those of you that joined us today by signing up for this session individually, you can make your life more convenient by subscribing to Piano Tech Radio Hour at just $16 a month. You'll get the recording of today's session in our member area, as well as automatic registration for each week's new session. Sign up at bit.ly/join PTRH. That's bit.ly/PTRH. And we'll see you again next week. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for
Thank you,
having me.
Justice. I appreciate that. Thanks a lot,
Thank you.
Randy.
Appreciate it.
Actually, Randy, if you want to jump back on this Zoom link after
Sure.
I end it, and we'll chat for a second. All
Great.
right, catch you later,
Thank you so
everyone.
much.